I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
But it's precisely his legacy that many Democrats believe Joe Biden will destroy if he insists on staying in the race to finish the job. This was billed as the president's big boy press conference, a chance to show he could be unscripted and hold his own.
We just concluded this year's NATO summit.
It was the end of the NATO summit, yes, but there was only one line of questioning.
Would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
Not your enemies who are calling on you to reconsider your decision to stay in the race. It's your friends.
Officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable.
Mental agility was the issue the president had to prove. Yet within minutes of opening his remarks, Biden delivered this excruciating clangor.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
In the front row, Biden's national security advisor rubbed his face nervously. The others stared straight ahead, no doubt aware the cameras were upon them. It may have been forgivable on its own, but it followed another mortifying mistake at an event just before, when he was introducing President Zelenskyy of Ukraine.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelenskyy. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President,
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
This time it was world leaders watching with bated breath. Such is the jeopardy surrounding any Biden performance these days.
The only thing age does is help you with it. Creates a little bit of wisdom if you pay attention.
But critics say Biden's not paying attention, instead insisting, as he did again last night, that his age and experience are the very things that make him the one who can beat Donald Trump.
I believe I'm the best qualified to govern. And I think I'm the best qualified to win. And that's the other reason why I didn't, you say, hand off to another generation. I've got to finish this job. I've got to finish this job because there's so much at stake.
Joe Biden spoke for about an hour here, and he did address matters of complex foreign policy with only the occasional gaffe, but he probably hasn't done enough to quell the skeptics within his own party or voters at large, for whom he had one singular message: I am going nowhere.
One of the really kind of sick aspects of this moment is that we are watching every speech, every rally, every debate, and saying, how did he do today? And that's just not the way to think about the presidency of the United States.
This is just one of a growing number of House Democrats who've publicly called for the president to step aside. And it's even emerged their leader met privately with Biden in the White House yesterday to relay their fears. But it didn't make any difference, because Biden insists ordinary voters are still backing him, and many are. Not necessarily, though, because they want him, but because they see him as the lesser of two evils.
It does worry me. I mean, like I said, I will vote for Biden, but I'm very worried. Very worried.
This man is the same age as Biden, but he's not encouraging him.
And I'm not trying to run for president, and I don't think he should be either. I don't think he's capable of it.
He's old, yes, but Trump is old too, so at least Biden is a decent man.
A decent man who many believe is also defiant and delusional about his chances of winning the White House in November.
Well, joining me now is Peter Loge, who was a senior advisor in the Obama administration, is now a professor of media and public affairs at George Washington University. Thanks for joining us. I think everyone can see the argument for him to go. What's the argument for him to stay?
I think the argument for him to stay is one that Joe Biden has been making, which is he ran 4 years ago and he won. The U.S. economy is strong. The U.S. is doing well internationally, well respected internationally. And Donald Trump is, in his view, an existential threat to a lot of the things that Biden and his supporters hold dear.
So when people like George Clooney say this is now blindingly obvious, you know, we've just got to sort of grip what is staring us in the face and move on. What's the answer?
Well, it depends who you're asking. If you're talking to people like Clooney and those who agree with him, they said absolutely, Mr. Clooney is right. I think if I'm in the Biden camp, I'm saying look, let's let Republicans talk about how bad Democrats are. Maybe Democrats should talk about how strong the Democratic Party is, how strong this economy is, and how strong President Biden is. You know, I could make an argument for Biden to come or go as a political strategist. I'm obviously a partisan, but you know, at some point, the Democratic Party has to say this is our guy or it's not, and we've got to get on with running the election.
Oh, and what does your gut feeling say?
My gut feeling is that he'll probably stay. President Biden has stuck around for a long time. He's faced long odds. He's the president of the United States. He's never bet against himself, and he's won every time. As a voter, you know, I like the job he's done. I can see the argument that he's lost a step, but on the other hand, I'm not sure that another candidate would be better prepared or more qualified to take on Trump, you know, in mid-July of an election year. I don't know.
You're a professor of media as well, and I wonder what you think of the media's role in this, because the New York Times, I mean, seems to be sort of doing the running on this. You know, it's called for him to go, and it's now sort of running stories every minute, you know, adding to the arguments for him to go. Right now, they're saying, you know, party donors are going to freeze tens of millions of dollars of funding if he doesn't go. Are they influencing this?
I think absolutely. I think they are. I think you are. I think everybody in the media is, right? The media don't tell us what to think. They tell us what to think about, in the famous line of a couple of political scientists named Iyengar and Kinder. And what we're thinking about is Biden too old? We're not thinking about, are Trump's statements too outrageous? Are his policies too extreme? We're not thinking about the economy, jobs, inflation, or immigration. We're asking whether or not the old guy's old. And it turns out, you know what, the old guy's old.
Yes, and I suppose, presumably you think, you know, Joe Biden isn't going to listen to the New York Times, but the people who might are the voters. So that this whole campaign might just ensure that he loses.
I'm not sure the voters listen to the New York Times either. A lot of us read the New York Times and rely on the New York Times, but I'm not sure that's most Americans most of the time. I think most voters see politics mostly as bad theater most of the time, and the politicians spend a lot of time ginning up stuff that doesn't matter. And instead of doing things that actually matter, like working on roads, schools, immigration, jobs, and the economy. So I think most voters are watching this whole thing, rolling their eyes and saying, there they go again. Why aren't they fixing the things that matter to me?
So why do the polls then suggest that Donald Trump might be the answer?
Because, you know, people are angry about inflation. They're angry about immigration. They're nervous about the future, right? And one of the things that Donald Trump has been consistently saying is, I am strong, I am resolute, I will make America strong and resolute. President Biden, unfortunately, with the help of the media and many Democrats, is being shown to be weak and ineffectual, right? And I think people just want someone who's going to get in and fix it, right? If the plumbing in my house is broken, I don't want to bring in 3 plumbers to argue about the relative merits of different kind of valves. I want the damn sink to stop leaking, fix it. I think part of Trump's appeal is saying he'll come in and fix the sink.
And so as a partisan, I guess you want the media to start talking about Donald Trump in more detail and what he really means.
I really would like more attention on what Trump has been saying he would do, the Project 2025, digging into his policies, his tariff proposals, his tax proposals, as I would also with Biden, right? I really wish the media would pay more attention to what the Democrats are and are not doing on things like taxes, immigration, and inflation, focusing on what amounts to insider baseball and inside politics, especially for a guy who's constantly tripping over his tongue and is sort of, for his whole career, is, you know, always sort of held your breath during press conferences with Biden. I'm not sure that does anybody any good. Makes for good theater, might make for good clicks. It makes for interesting interviews on British television, but I'm not sure it advances American politics very much.
Professor Loesch, thank you very much.
Many thanks.
Thanks.